Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the channel and thank you so much for tuning into this movie review, where if you're brand new here, please press the red subscribe button, or if you're coming back, thank you for tuning in once again, because if you're unfamiliar by now, I have been slowly going through the Michael J. Fox filmography, and today we've landed on August 12th of 1991 to a movie called Dark Hollywood. Now, this movie is directed by Michael Caton-Jones, who I've never seen any of their previous works, and I know that in the last kind of 7 or 8 years ago, they've kind of made a return to film, as they did take a little break from that. So it's pretty cool to see this director back, but I've never seen any of their previous works. The cinematographer here is Michael Chapman, who has worked on quite a big lot of movies in his time before his untimely death a couple of years ago. But this movie, guys, I'm not going to be talking about it by myself. I've actually got a first ever time guest onto the channel as a collaboration, and hopefully not the last time either, because it is my good buddy John from his awesome channel Directive. So yeah, we're going to hear from John in a very short amount of time, and I was introduced to John through Anthony A. Perez, so big thank you to Anthony if you're watching this, my man, for making the connections with us, and we got talking to John. Dark Hollywood, if you're wondering, okay, well, who's the cast in this and what's it all around? Well, firstly, the cast here is Michael J. Fox. Of course, I'm covering his filmography. We've also got Julie Warner, we've got Woody Harrelson, we've got Robert Blossom, and if you're unfamiliar who Robert Blossom's in, he actually played Old Man Marley in the original Home Alone. So pretty cool that he's making an appearance here also. And we've also got Bridget Fonda. So a bit of an all-star cast going into this movie. And before I talk about the plot, a fun little fact here, and this is kind of towards like Disney and Pixar. So they made a movie called Cars, which I'm sure a lot of people's heard of. It has been quoted quite a few times that Cars basically ripped off Dark Hollywood, which we're going to be talking about. So yeah, that's certainly a fun fact for sure. Disney, come up with some original ideas, okay? Anyway, so Dark Hollywood, the plot of this movie is essentially around Dr. Benjamin Stone, who is played by Michael J. Fox, gets a job interview offer in LA to become a plastic surgeon. However, on his way to LA, he takes a detour through a very small town, and something or another happens there. He's stuck there, but he kind of soon learns that is it the money that he's after, or is it kind of the place and love that he's truly after? So what can I honestly say about this romantic comedy starring Michael J. Fox, Dark Hollywood? Well, for the most part, I enjoyed this movie. I certainly found that it was definitely a timepiece of its time, but also kind of a bit of like a typical story, but a bit of a 90s twist on it. So I kind of dig that they try to go for a bit of a different style here, and they tried to bring out the best in this movie plot that we've seen before. And Michael J. Fox, of course, is likable as always. He has this charisma and energy and just such style to any performance that he is in that you automatically like the guy. It's hard to not like the guy, gonna be completely honest with you. You're always rooting for him, you're always hoping that he's gonna succeed or he's gonna come out on top, you know, whatever the case should be. And this movie is absolutely no different in that regard, because being honest with you, at the start of this movie, you maybe do think, okay, well, maybe he is a little bit egotistical here, maybe he is a little bit full of himself, because he is kind of this hotshot doctor as such. And when he goes into this town, he certainly gets a reality check pretty quickly. And when he kind of gets that reality check, he then starts to learn, well, actually, okay, maybe I should actually get to know these people, or maybe I should actually be a doctor and help out where I should. And, you know, it's one of those things that I really enjoyed that aspect of it, because either way, in this movie, again, he's always likable, but right at the beginning, I was like, wow, he's a bit of a dick, you know, and I didn't think I was ever going to say that about my hero, Michael J. Fox, but yeah, he actually was playing that character, to be honest. So he did a good job in that department. Does he bring anything new to his performances? Not as such, you know, like, it's kind of just like the kind of typical-ish performance that we get from him, because this is going to start in this kind of like a little bit of a later career for him, where he does start to take on more serious roles as we get further down the line of his filmography. And I think this was a little bit of a stepping stone. But another little fun fact here is this movie was actually the movie he was shooting at the time, where he actually realized he had Parkinson's. So what happened was he actually went on a drinking session with Woody Harrelson, and the next morning his fingers started trembling, and he explains this in his book Lucky Man. And when his fingers started trembling, he thought, it could just be one or two things, and that's when he actually learns that he had Parkinson's. So it's kind of crazy that this is the movie where he discovered that fact, and it's such a shame. Really, really is. But if we move on to our supporting cast of Julie Warner, who plays a character called Lou, and Woody Harrelson, who plays a character called Hank. So Woody Harrelson isn't in this movie a lot of the time. When he is in, he's okay. He doesn't really have anything where I wouldn't say like someone else could play that character, because I think they probably could. But he does get a lot of screen time. Before he's on, he's Woody Harrelson, he's a likable guy as always, and you can buy into his character that he's portraying. However, Julie Warner, this is my introduction into her. I didn't know of this actress, and as John is about to say in his portion, which we're going to hand over to in a second, she does play this kind of innocence, vulnerability, kind of like country girl as such, and I think that she portrayed that really, really well. She didn't give in to Michael J. Fox's love interest easily. She was saying to Benjamin Stone, no, that is not happening, and that is basically what happened for a lot of this movie. So I like that she stood her ground. She was able to defend herself. They didn't make her as like a woman who just gave in to any needs like pretty quickly or anything. They actually gave it a little bit of time to develop her character, and I like that in this movie. I like that it was portrayed in that way, and it built up over the course of the runtime. And I'd also say that the cinematography of this small town was also done really, really well. You felt as if you were in this small town and you'd seen it all within 10-20 minutes maximum, and you had this feeling vibe of being, okay, well look, it really is secluded, it really is in the middle of nowhere, and you've only got the people around you in this town. And as Julie Warner's character Lou says at one point in this movie, pretty much anything you do in this town, everyone knows about it. So you get that seclusion feel in this movie, and you kind of feel, well, Michael J. Fox's character Benjamin Stone is going to be heading to Hollywood, of course, this massive place. But at the minute, he's stuck in this small, isolated town. And yeah, you definitely get that sense of being like, okay, well, what decision is he going to make as the movie plays out? And I will say that I liked, for the most part, how the movie played out. So with all that in mind, I'm going to hand it over to my good buddy John from Daddy Directive to tell us a little bit about his thoughts of experiencing Doc Hollywood for the very first time.
Thank you, Mike, for this opportunity to share my thoughts on Dr. Hollywood and having me on for your Michael J. Fox series. Dr. Hollywood is a romantic comedy where the destination seems obvious literally, as our main character Dr. Stone needs to get to LA, and figuratively when it comes to the inevitable happy endings of the 1990s romantic comedy movie genre. However, the movie enamors the viewers not with the grandeur of the final destination, but rather with the charms and innocence of the journey that is sure to put a warm, fuzzy smile on your face. The movie is not subtle, nor entirely believable when it comes to its presentation in how the storyline plays out. But at the same time, it is given a pass considering that it is in a comedy genre rather than a serious drama. When you watch the trailer for the movie, it is very easy to mistake the movie for a very crude slapstick comedy. As you watch, viewers will start to realize that it is more than that. Without making the story too heavy, the movie manages to aid the viewers in developing emotional attachments to the characters, while keeping things light and in a deliberately exaggerated comedic fashion. Michael J. Fox does a great job of playing a plastic surgeon who is, incidentally, quite clumsy throughout the movie. I'm not sure if I'd trust him with a nose job personally, but apparently he is quite successful and sought after as he drives a 1956 Porsche 356 Speedster, which, by the way, he totals many times. Julie Warner, who plays Lou, the love interest for Dr. Stone, does an incredibly believable job of being that innocent southern girl while keeping that mysterious sexual tension throughout the movie. As it is a movie that was made in the early 1990s, and the setting for the movie is in the southern small-town US, there are many instances in the movie, whether in a dialogue or action, that simply wouldn't pass in a current movie industry standards when it comes to what some would consider sexist representations. The premise of the movie is simple. Which one will you choose? between the intangible value of innocent and simple life filled with heartwarming relationships that are emphasized as genuine, or living a phony superficial life as a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, making 20 times the money this genuine little town could offer. Though as a viewer, you wish that Dr. Stone would choose love over money. But deep down, most viewers would be conflicted if put in the same situation. After all, love is the irrational choice. But as mentioned before, this is a romantic comedy, where we are permitted to indulge in fantasies with choices that we may never make ourselves. Dr. Hollywood provides that outlet for the viewers, with his almost a Disney-like happy ending, where you don't have to worry about the consequences of making the irrational choice. We, the viewers, can live in this ignorant bliss by being a little naive a bit longer. Well, at least until the rolling credits end. Ultimately, I enjoyed the movie, more so than I expected. It's a definite change of pace from anything that we are familiar with these days. In some ways, it is a reminiscent of a slower time. This movie was released even before the internet was a thing. So before you start this movie, cozy up under a blanket with a glass of wine, and then press play with that remote. Back to you, Mike.
A big thanks to John from Daddy Directive for joining me on this review. So with John's channel, guys, he doesn't cover movies. He covers a lot of parenting tips for people who are parents already or going to become parents. So I really like that I kind of brought in an outsider of movie reviews to give their perspective on Doc Hollywood and seeing this movie for the first ever time. And I'm glad that he could relate with this movie a little bit, but also enjoyed this movie for most part. I definitely think, John, you made some great and very valid points in your portion of the review. But before I touch on them, I just want to say that anyone who is not subscribed to John from Daddy Directive, the links are down below in the description box. Go give him some love. Please go check out his channel. He's such an awesome guy. And also tell him that I sent you. So yeah, in regards with what John said and kind of leaning into my negatives, yeah, you know, I guess at times this movie could come across like nowadays as a bit sexist as such, and you know, that wouldn't fly with some people for sure, and not to say that it flies with me, but of course, kind of like doing this filmography, I kind of put my mindset aside a little bit, just, you know, sit down, as John said, like under a blanket, watching this movie and just taking it for what it is, because it is a movie of its time, of in the 90s. Because I do know that this movie is based on a book by Neil B. Shulman called What, Dead Again. Now, I've never read the book, so I don't know how that compares in comparison with the movie, but also I would say with John, he said, yeah, I would say that this movie, it can be a little bit predictable. You know that how it's going to end, and this kind of like happy ending to it all. I would have maybe liked him to take a risk. I think it's because ultimately you kind of think, okay, well, he's going to take the job in LA. This is what he's wanted all this time, despite whatever happens. And yeah, you probably can see where this movie's going to go and how it's going to end for sure. But I just think that sometimes it was a little bit too predictable. And I'd also say for me personally, I felt that the runtime could have been shortened just a little bit. I felt like it had a little bit of the excess that we did not need. Again, even if it was like 5-10 minutes, to make this as more of a solid movie, because I felt like the pace did slow down just a tad at odd little moments. But besides all that, yeah, John, I really enjoyed hearing your portion. I really think that you summed this up brilliantly, and also I really enjoyed hearing your thoughts on this movie. Yeah, you know, it's just a kind of like an easy, cozy movie you can just chill out and like. And as John said, he said that he liked it more than he thought he would. And yeah, if you've never seen this movie, I would say that for me, I wouldn't say necessarily that I would go back and rush and rewatch this movie or anything like that, but I can say I had a good time. I'm glad I rewatched it again after so many years, and I just took it for what it is. So my overall score for Doc Hollywood is a 6.7 out of 10. So have you seen Doc Hollywood? If you have, leave any and all comments down below. If you've enjoyed the review, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. And one last thing is, please go and check out John's channel. As I said before, the link is in the description box below. Go give him some love. Tell him that I sent you. I would really, really appreciate it. But thank you for tuning into this episode of the Michael J. Fox Filmography. And until the next time that I see you, I'll be seeing you later.